Celsius also admitted at the 341 meeting that the company has never earned enough revenue to support the yields being paid to investors. This shows a high level of financial mismanagement and also suggests that at least at some points in time, yields to existing investors were probably being paid with the assets of new investors. What's up, guys? Aaron Bennett here. In this video, going over the latest Celsius information. I'm going to cover a lot of things. Here's the summary. I'm going to start by going over their cash flow forecast, which was updated a few days ago. I'm then going to go over some thoughts from Simon Dixon about everything going on right now. I'm then going to go over a convincing letter from a creditor like us about why a U.S. examiner may be something we really need. I'm then going to talk about Daniel Leon, one of the founders of Celsius, basically claiming a loss on his Celsius shares. I'm then going to touch on an email I received from Cherokee about selling claims and what I'm seeing from that perspective. I'm going to go over the future court dates that Celsius will be before the judge. I'm then going to talk about how Vermont, the state, wants an independent examiner. And this is a very, very intense motion that they brought forth with a lot of evidence. I'm going to talk about Wisconsin wanting an independent examiner and also the Texas State Securities Boards, the SSB, also wanting an independent examiner. But before I dive into those stories and give you my thoughts and everything, I do want to take a second and talk about the sponsor of this video, iTrust Capital. So iTrust Capital is where I have my crypto Roth IRA, and this is just for people in the United States. And you can see right here, my Roth IRA is worth $3,345, and I personally invested all of it into Bitcoin. Now, what's cool about iTrust Capital is you can invest in all of these different altcoins as well. So you do not just need to invest in Bitcoin like other retirement products out there. And iTrust is very, very clear about they do not own your assets. And I'm talking about Celsius right now and Voyager. This is in the terms and conditions. Your assets, not ours. They hold our crypto in cold storage. They are not rehypothecating our crypto. This is nothing like what Celsius was doing. This is not like a hedge fund. And they are using an actual bank in New York to hold our dollars. And when it gets transferred to crypto, they're putting it directly into cold storage, like with Coinbase custody. So if you want to get started and you live in the United States and you want to invest in an IRA where you do not need to pay taxes when you retire, which could be massive for how much money you make, there is a link below where iTrust is giving you guys $100 when you click the link, confirm your email, and also set up an account with $1,000 or more. Then they're going to give you $100 in Bitcoin. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get back to the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is this weekly cash flow forecast, which came out August 31st. So what Simon says is they now forecast $42 million cash left by the end of November, which is much, much better than the first time they released something similar a few weeks ago, which said they would be completely out of money by, I believe, October or November. And the title from this AMB crypto story says Celsius to receive $70 million as per latest filing. So essentially, Celsius said, oh, we are actually going to be receiving $70 million from USD denominated loans maturing next month. So some people were like, wait, how do they just recently find $70 million? It's a little bit odd, right? Some people are a little bit skeptical that this was not accounted for in the first time they did their reports. So all in all, I guess this is good. They're not going to run out of money as soon as we thought, but they are still burning through a lot of crypto and a lot of money every single month. Next, just two tweets from Simon Dixon talking about his plan. So he says, equity was my plan on how to be made whole under a high-risk, high-return environment. So Simon, if his plan gets adopted by the UCC or part of it, he wants people to be made completely whole. With Bitfinex, he said, we ended up much better than whole. So basically, he did a token through Bank to the Future, which helped people who were a part of the Bitfinex hack get made even bigger and even better than whole. He says, I've never said it's not possible with the right plan. That's why I'm still here. And then he says, I'm interested in full recovery rather than selling my claim. And we'll talk about the email I got from Cherokee a little later in this video about offering to buy our claims. I have talked about that in previous videos as well. He's not interested in selling his claim for 30 cents on the dollar. He's interested in waiting and maybe getting equity in a new company, whether that's mining, whether that's some completely new organization. And a lot of these things I've covered in previous videos, but I just wanted to share his thoughts here. So next is a letter that, man, it was a solid letter. It is 9 pages, and it is from somebody who is a creditor just like us, basically saying why they need an independent examiner examiner, why they need somebody who is not associated with the UCC or with Kirkland or with any ad hoc group to come in and investigate the crap out of what's happened with Celsius. And they just bring up a lot of really, really great points. They start out by saying, how can they magically find almost $70 million? Which again, we talked about right here. Celsius to receive $70 million. It just so happened it's coming in. They talk about how Celsius failed to do proper AML and actually instructed the HR department to not do background checks for some of their employees. They talk about the disappearing assets from the balance sheet and saying, was there fraud years ago, even before it was publicly shared by Celsius? They ask some good questions about selling and transferring assets, and also the $70 million. Basically, we can't trust them if they just found $70 million. We need an independent auditor and examiner. They talk about if Celsius artificially inflated the price of Cell token, and if insiders were basically selling as they were telling people to hold on to Cell and giving people reasons to hold on to Cell. They ask about insider trading and about this $750 million insurance policy, which apparently was on their website June and July of this year. Essentially, they say no plan or distribution should be considered until we know where all the assets are, where they went, how much is actually lost, and how much is, quote, misplaced. So I actually agree with this person. I think there is just a lot that is still not being shared. And the U.S. trustee, I feel, is really on this. And they feel that Celsius is not going to just like give up all the information that they want. They then talk about California's Department of Financial Protection saying that Alex made materially misleading statements. This person is also asking for a criminal investigation into the intentionally misleading advertising and online social media statements. And this I agree with. They basically said, hey, you let the non-accredited investors invest into a financial instrument that should have never been allowed to be shared or sold to non-accredited investors, and saying that regulators at the federal and state level did not do their job, right? So really putting the scrutiny on the regulators, which honestly, I kind of agree. And I didn't know this was here. So July 5th, 2022, apparently they talked about a $750 million insurance coverage, which was on their website. So, there's just a lot. We know there was a lot that went down that obviously investigators could look into more closely. Anyway, this was a good letter. I'll leave it in the description below if you want to take a look. So next I want to talk about Daniel Leon, who is one of the founders of Celsius, essentially saying that their shares in Celsius, or his shares in Celsius, are worthless. And I'll read directly from David Adler, who is a bankruptcy attorney. He says, here's a new one. A declaration of, quote, worthlessness was just filed by Daniel Leon, one of the co-founders. And also what's interesting is that this was filed by Kirkland and Ellis, the firm representing Celsius. So David did say it's a little interesting that the firm representing Celsius is also here independently representing one of the co-founders. So next I want to talk about transferring and selling claims. So this one came in, and the amount was for $87,000. And I got this email from Cherokee, I think yesterday, saying essentially, hey, this is how much we will potentially buy your Celsius claim for. So a lot more if it's custody, and earn about 26 to 30%. Looks like the minimum they want is $50,000 for a claim. But basically, I find this interesting because, I know there's some people that would probably do this and be like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to take 30 cents on the dollar. I just want my cash, whatever, give me my money. And the reason I'm not suggesting taking these offers is because Thomas Braziel right here, who many of you guys have heard me talk about, really smart guy, he made a lot of money from actually buying Mt. Gox claims. So I think one example here, he invested $100,000 and it's now worth $2 million or something like that. And this guy literally has purchased claims for Mt. Gox when people were very uncertain about what was going to happen with their recovery. He has said on Twitter, and again, this is not financial advice, he said basically, I wouldn't be selling claims if it were me. So I am not encouraging you to sell your claims to a company that's going to give you 30 cents on the dollar. Simon believes that we will get a lot more than this, and I think there would be some solid plans coming before the UCC from Celsius and others that will give us more than 30%. I mean, right now, the hole is not a 70% hole. right? So if you're going to get 30 cents on the dollar, that would essentially mean that if Celsius liquidated everything, there is literally a 70% hold. They only have 30% of what they say they owe us. And they have more than 30%. And they also have assets that they can sell, including the mining business, GK8, etc. So this price at 30% for an earn account, I would definitely not do this if it were me. I think we will be getting a lot more than 30%, but I just wanted to cover this because a lot of people are getting emails like this, and yeah, I guess they're real. And if you absolutely need the money or else you're going to be homeless living in your car, then maybe it's something you may want to consider doing, totally. But from everybody that I've heard, they would not be doing it if it were them. They would not be selling their claim for 30%. So next I want to talk about the future dates that Celsius will be before the court. So basically we had the one on September 1st a few days ago. The next one is going to be September 14th. This is going to be a hearing. Then we have October 6th, we have November 1st, and then November 30th as of right now. So this next story is saying that the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation joins in the motion of the U.S. trustee, basically saying, hey, we also want to appoint an examiner in this case. At least 40 state security regulators were engaged in a multi-state investigation, they said. And basically, they're looking at Celsius again being an unregistered security and also performing securities fraud. And these are all reasons that they think an independent examiner should be appointed. They said Celsius was operating its business in violation of state securities laws. And they're really worried about people, residents of Vermont, because they are representing Vermont, who have invested entire college funds and retirement accounts with Celsius. They talk about Alex making false and misleading claims to investors. So they're going through some proof about, different tweets Alex said and what was actually happening behind the scenes. I've talked a lot about this. I'm not going to go through it because, yes, he did say some things that were not actually true. And this is a really important statement. It says Celsius also admitted at the 341 meeting that the company has never earned enough revenue to support the yields being paid to investors. This shows a high level of financial mismanagement and also suggests that at least at some points in time, yields to existing investors were probably being paid with the assets of new investors. They're saying, essentially, we need an examiner to investigate if this was a Ponzi, or at least was a Ponzi at certain times. And they go on to say an examiner should investigate whether Celsius improperly deployed assets to manipulate the market price of Cell token. Very, very serious allegations here. So basically, Vermont respectfully requests that an examiner be appointed. In this file, it says the state of Wisconsin also wants an independent examiner as well. And here, the Texas State Securities Board, which I've heard a lot about, I think they were the ones that originally came down on BitConnect back early 2018, are also asking the trustee for entry of an order directing the appointment of an examiner. So we have Texas, we have Wisconsin, and we have Vermont, all saying essentially the same thing. We need an independent examiner to look into everything that went on here. So guys, that's it for the video. I will say that before I made this video, I was on a Twitter Spaces on Twitter, obviously, with Zach, the Zach, who was with Alex on every single AMA for the last few years. So I found that to be a good thing. He kind of represents the company. He's kind of like the PR man of the company. And a lot of it was him sharing his personal experiences. He wasn't really speaking on behalf of Celsius. He was just speaking on behalf of himself. I did enjoy seeing him be able to be public and speak publicly again. So I just wanted to share that I appreciate them coming on Twitter and basically becoming public again. So guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I just wanted to come on here and update you on everything going on, everything coming through the pipeline, so you don't have to read the emails. I will read them for you and let you guys know everything happening with this debacle. So thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate you guys. There is that link for iTrust Capital if you want to set up a retirement account, IRA, Roth IRA, transfer a 401k, whatever. They're going to give you $100 if you use that link once you set up your account. So that's it for the video. Till next time, guys, talk with you soon, and bye for now.